The Minnesota Wild have become the most dangerous team in the NHL playoffs after Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy have had themselves another record-breaking performance. We're going to be talking about this game, going over how the Wild have managed to make themselves in this position against the Vegas Golden Knights, and how Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy have solidified themselves as one of the best tandems in the NHL. Before we jump into all of this, very quickly, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We noticed that just over 90% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot for all of your Minnesota Wild news, we have it all right here. Be sure to hit the sub button so you don't miss out anything during these playoffs and head into the offseason. But let's get into this video. This game against the Vegas Golden Knights was one where the Minnesota Wild have confirmed themselves as a terrifying team to play against. They were, frankly, let's be honest, very underrated in this series. The Minnesota Wild were not supposed to be winning this game. They were not supposed to be winning this series, but we knew as Wild fans, once this team got healthy, they were one of the best teams in the NHL. And as we kind of head towards the hockey stat card here, I wanted to pull this up, go over this before we jump into our actual kind of quotes and everything from the team here. Some very good quotes from the Minnesota Wild players after this game. In the first game in Minnesota, Xcel Energy Center was loud, but Matt Boldy, Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson Ek, that first line back at the top and still at the top of the hockey stat card, this line has produced some insane games, some insane plays, and people are calling this a one-line team, which I think is frankly ridiculous. And, you can definitely say that this one line has excelled the Wilds into this spot where they are right now, and that's no doubt, but this whole team has been able to compete at a level with the Vegas Golden Knights that many teams this season have not been able to. Matt Boldy, Kirill Kaprizov, of course, the highest on this team on the chart in offense and defense. We saw back at this team, Kirill Kaprizov moving to second place overall in Wild playoff goals. Matt Boldy getting an absolute dog goal on Noah Hanifin, who was lacking behind the net. Did not have a good game from him, but Matt Boldy really embarrassed this Vegas defense and showed why the Wild are not to be messed with, not to be underestimated, and they are going to be one of the teams that they don't want to play against. Nobody in the NHL playoffs remaining right now will want to play against this team. We're going to go into our quotes here, going over just about everybody that we have here. But Joel Eriksson Ek starting to off saying how hard they work is really setting the standard for the whole team. Probably the two hardest working guys. It's fun for sure. Now he's talking about, of course, Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, two of the players on this team who have set the tone for this team. I think that's fair to say that the rest of the team is playing just behind Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy. They're showing and leading this team and exemplifying why and where this team needs to go, how they need to play, what they need to do. They're the leaders on this team. That has been no doubt. Even though they may not have, the C, of course, Jared Spurgeon, the veteran presence that we have on defense, on the rest of the offense, is not to be undermined. They're still a major reason as well that this team is getting to the place they are and showing that the rest of the league is not going to have an easy time playing against the Minnesota Wild. Now, the series is not over. There's no doubt about that. We still have to take into consideration that there's going to be some good teams here. We still have to win 2 more against Vegas, which is not going to be easy. But the Wild have showed that they can play their game. They can do it. They can take away the boards. They can take away the middle of the ice. And Vegas will have nothing to do. We saw some plays where we're going to get into it a little bit here with Mark Stone being able to kind of walk in front of the net on the power play. Something they're going to want to limit, but we'll get into that, as I said, in a moment here. Going into the next 3 stars of the game, though, I want to show, once again, Kirill Kaprizov, 2 goals, Matt Boldy, goal and assist. Filip Gustavsson, another phenomenal game from him, 30 saves and 938 save percentage. 3 players here, which I'm not gonna say are the main reasons, but are certainly at the top of the reasons that the Wild are where they are right now in a 2-1 lead against Vegas. 1 win in Vegas, 1 win in Minnesota, another game in Minnesota to come that will need to be a big win. As they say, you're not in trouble until you lose at home, and we've seen Vegas lose at home so far, and we want to remain in that spot. But going over as well, the Minnesota Wild PR have tweeted this out. Following the first period power play goal from Kirill Kaprizov, now owns 13 career goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs, trailing only Zach Parise at 16 for most in franchise history. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this will be beaten here in this season. I do think that it's something that we can really, look at here as if things continue the way they're going, this will be beaten. Matt Boldy going to be climbing up this list as well here so far in these playoffs. Been arguably the best player on the team. You could argue, I think, either of the 3 stars that we saw in last night's game, Filip Gustavsson, Matt Boldy, Kirill Kaprizov, being the top player on this team here. And of course, Zeev Boyum is another example. I want to say, not playing, not the best on the team, but playing his first 3 NHL games, he's playing good. playing very, very good. First NHL point last night, and it was a playoff assist on, I believe it was the Kirill Kaprizov goal. Correct me if I am wrong, but if the Wild continue to play this way, if they continue to find that success, we're going to be in a great, great spot. Now, I'm going to go over to our second quote here that we have in the video, going over from Kirill Kaprizov. He says, "Always feels good when you can win the games. We don't care now who scored and who has as many points or whatever. You just want to win games. Just have that team game." And that's what I'm finding. One thing from the Minnesota Wild where we've not seen with all the other teams. This team has been putting the puck on anybody's stick. We've been able to see that other teams not trusting some players. The Montreal Canadiens, for example. Patrick Laine has been a very big liability for them. Being scratched now, I believe, for next game. But we see the Wild coming out here, playing with ultimate success with everybody in the ice. They're trusting people with this puck, no matter who it is. Everybody's having that confidence and are being guided by examples. And I feel like that's one thing that not every team can say they have. We've been able to see this perfectly for the Minnesota Wild. They're giving the trust in Zeev Boyum, a player who has 3 NHL games. They're still giving the trust in a guy like Zach Bogosian, who has played, so many NHL games. I don't know the exact amount, but so many. Has experience in everywhere, and we can be honest, is not at the level he once was, and is not really being able to keep up to every player in the NHL, but they trust those guys with the puck, and that's a good thing to see from the Minnesota Wild, and one thing that I want to continue as long as they're keeping up to that level for the remainder of the playoffs. Now, when we go to one issue that I had with this team is the penalties near the end of the game. As you see at the bottom there, Jake Middleton, the cross-checking penalty on Brendan Saad, Marco Rossi hooking against William Karlsson. Those penalties are ones that, obviously you're playing hard on defense. Vegas definitely had a big push there at the end of the game. They did in the last 2. But the Wild need to limit those penalties. And as I mentioned, going back to this as well, Mark Stone, they saw this with Jack Eichel on the power play, that there was an opening where if they go put the puck on Mark Stone's stick by the corner of the net, he can either walk out and try and go around Filip Gustavsson, who had a nice save on that there in the power play yesterday. But also, there was one play where they had a backdoor possible goal that was just a bad pass by Mark Stone. You can't go and rely on those happening every single play. So you got to keep that locked down, limit the penalty kills for the Wild, limit the power plays for the Vegas Golden Knights, and I think that we would be in a very, very good spot if we can do that, limit those, and come down to where we want to see. But another one I want to shout out, Justin Brazeau. Last night, assist on Rossi's goal, drawn a power play in 8 hits and let's just call it 8 minutes of ice time. And let's be honest, Justin Brazeau wasn't the greatest in the first 2 games, but really showed what he could do and what he was brought into this team to do last night. Now, this is not going to say it's going to happen every game. We want it to happen every game, but Justin Brazeau was a candidate to be removed from the 4th line, possibly replaced, and Marco Rossi potentially being moved up to the 3rd line. We saw that goal from him last night, and of course, I'll pull this back up once again. Going back to the stat card, having him there just below Eriksson Ek for being a 4th line center is exactly what we wanted to see. Give him a bigger role, give him a smaller role. He's capable, and he wants to do what he can to help this team win. But I want to say Justin Brazeau, another very, very solid game from him, and hopefully we see this type of play continue from him. Keep it going, lock up any bit of Vegas play that they have, and keep this 4th line where we want to see it, up above, and keep this a hand in against the Vegas Golden Knights. But I will do one more quote here, and another screenshot before we finish this video off. Filip Gustavsson had this to say about last night at the Xcel Energy Center. You can't hear anything. You're screaming there at the end of the game, and the puck comes down, and you have no clue where the D what the D's going to do. I have a big difference going from Vegas. I didn't think that building was as loud as I expected it to be, and then you come here, you can't hear anything, so it's very fun. And I absolutely love this quote from Filip Gustavsson. We know Vegas' fans are not real. There's no real hockey fans in Vegas, let's be honest, and they're not Vegas fans if there are. The stadium was filled with people who are going on vacation, people who don't know anything about hockey, and people who are just there to get drunk and get loud. Let's be honest, Vegas has no real fans, but I love this quote from Filip Gustavsson about Vegas, kind of tantalizing him a bit, going out and saying that they're not loud in that stadium. They're not real fans. They just want to be there to watch a hockey game. But we see in Minnesota, the state of hockey, that fans are real here. So I love the quote just again from Filip Gustavsson. But I want to pull up our final screenshot here that we have from Ryan Whitney. Now, this is a reaction I'm seeing a lot on X about. Buzzer beater in Minnesota. The Wild are playing incredible. I apologize, Minnesota. I'll own this one. Thought they wrote classic. Kaprizov missed half the year and comes back completely dominating. Now, I wanted to pull this quote up. I could have pulled up so many. But Ryan Whitney, the boys over at Barstool and Spit and Chicklets, they're not afraid to say when call out teams for being, not great, being, having issues there and whatnot. And I feel like this is the best example of it. Having someone like this saying that they were wrong. The Minnesota Wild are elite. Really goes to show how good the Wild have been playing. So, just want to pull that up, kind of go over that. But let me know what you think about this game. Let me know what you think about everything else here. We're going to have a video again either later today or tomorrow talking about a very sneaky signing the Minnesota Wild have made and a local to me here in Newfoundland. So let me know what you think about this here. And be sure to sub to the channel. Stick around for this channel about the signing that we have coming in the next video. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.